from the National News Studio, Sri Lanka.
Hello, welcome to the news coming to you live from the National News Studio. My name is Clifford Richards together with Sharifa Tahir. The President reiterates that the country is returning to normalcy and the state of emergency is no longer necessary. This year's revenue target in the tourism sector is $1.7 billion. Minister Dr. Bandula Gunawardena stresses that the government does not interfere in the foreign expenses of the former president. The Air Force facilities are to be expanded for the benefit of Sri Lankan workers overseas. Approvals have been granted for 2 wind power projects valued over $500 million. The National Radio felicitates Sangeet Nipun Sanat Nandasiri. Bollywood actress Jacqueline Fernandez has been accused in a 2 billion Indian rupee money laundering case. Moving on to the stories in detail. Topping the stories, President Ranil Wickremesinghe expresses hope of being able to withdraw the current state of emergency by the end of this week.
He further says that the country is now in a stable position and there is no need to further extend the emergency law. President Ranil Wickremesinghe has made these observations addressing the awards presentation of the Intellectual Professional Associations Conference 2022 held in Colombo last evening. He added that many measures are now being taken to develop the country and the cooperation of all parties is needed in this regard. The President also said that attention of the government has been focused on the setting up of an office of the diaspora in order to receive the support of the diaspora community to Sri Lanka. Among those who have attended the event included Speaker Mahindayappa Abewardena, Minister of Justice Dr. Vijayadasa Rajapaksa and President of the Association of Intellectual Professional Organizations, Dulita Pereira.
We've gone through a period of establishing law and order because the instability of the economy on one hand, severe instability of the economy, with the other hand the severe political instability, the loss that Sri Lanka has suffered on that cannot be counted. But now we're back again. And how do we face the future? The situation here is normal and I will not be extending the emergency and I think it will lapse by end of the week. It shows that stability has returned. But that is not enough. How do we handle the problems that we have? How do we go forward? I'd like to tell all of you, there is no looking back. There were times when we were looking at getting $2-3 million just to pay off a bill. We are out of that stage now, fortunately. But we are not out of the woods. We cannot go on as an import-dependent economy with the balance of trade not in our favor. We are now discussing with the IMF to finalize a staff-level agreement. And we are at the nitty-gritty. Now, when you set the criteria and targets, you know, 0.25% can make a difference between prosperity and disaster. When that is over, the staff-level agreement will come in, and that will give us confidence. Money will come in from some of the donors, from some of the multilateral organizations, some investors would mind taking the risk. But we still have then, Lazards are preparing our debt sustainability plan. We've got to discuss firstly with our official creditors. So there has to be one approach. And we are talking with Japan how this could be achieved. And we'll talk with China or start the talks with India. Once we've done that, we have to increase revenue. The state corporations cannot run at a loss. So they've got to catch up on the subsidies or the subsidization they did earlier. We have to increase taxes. And there will be, the banks are very uncertain. There will be bankruptcies. There will be small and medium enterprises affected. That we have to face, and the government is preparing measures for that. Firstly, we are going to have large number of debts to pay, foreign debts. So we have to become export-oriented economy. in which we keep earning more and more foreign exchange. To that, we have become competitive. We have to become competitive. State sector and the private sector. So a highly competitive, export-oriented economy. We've got to transform to that. The only way out is through trade integration. There's no other way, either bilateral free trade agreements or regional trade agreements, which is more for Southeast Asia and East Asia. But we have to do this. So this is a part of the new Sri Lanka, where we are widening the horizons for economic activity and for governance.
An organization of this nature has a huge potential to advise and guide policymakers to take the correct steps to steer the country on the correct path, particularly at a time like this when the country is facing a huge economic crisis. The economics at the OPA, along with other professionals, should take the front seat in taking this country forward. My request to you is to become the torchbearers for these changes and precept above and promote good values and the right attitudes to all citizens of Sri Lanka, including politicians and workers of the public and private sectors.
The professionals are responsible for some of the devastations that we experienced during the recent past. It is the duty of the professionals, especially OPA, which is consisting of distinguished members of 32 professions, are responsible for the establishment of good governance and economic growth. But you have allowed that responsibility to be taken by various other people, and you have neglected your duty towards the nation. It is the professional who should take the initiatives. If you want to see a change in this world, that you will have to do. You can't wait till the politicians do it. It is the duty of the professionals. The duty of the professionals is to find solutions. As professionals in the legislature, under the guidance of the present president, we have taken a lot of measures to rectify the errors in the history, which includes the enactment of the 22nd Amendment to the Constitution. Now, we have to find the solution through the legal means by way of amendments to the Constitution as well as amendments of new laws. That is purely to address the good governance and to act in a responsible manner to prevent politicians from avoiding their duties to the nation. We need the support of professionals, not a mere support. You will have to get involved actively. Not only that, we have already got the approval from the cabinet to enact the anti-corruption law also.
There are many, many shortcomings in our system, for sure, and those need to be strengthened. But a system change, I believe, is more than that. These problems that were described will not be resolved by legal enactments and just by parliamentarians. This is why I believe that people are more important than policies. Your contribution in the private sector and in civil society is undisputed. I went from the private sector into the public sector. In the private sector, largely, the principle of merit or a meritocracy was largely observed in the private sector. We don't have that in the public sector. Neither do we have that in politics in this country. It's a different set of values that are being upheld there. Therefore, if we are to change this, why are you waiting? Professionals are needed in the public life of this country. Therefore, there has to be changes. We have to go a different journey. And therefore, laws need to be brought. There is no question about it. Particularly to do with governance, anti-corruption. We have to, as public representatives, members of parliament, and high public officials, We not only declare assets and liabilities, it must be made available. Because if there is a question about it, the Auditor General should be in a position to conduct an audit on the assets and liabilities of the President, the Cabinet, members of Parliament, and high officials in the country. That's how you clean up a system. In Sri Lanka, that's still not possible.
Well, the government has implemented several programs to restore normalcy from the existing problematic environment. As a result of the measures being taken, the country was able to overcome many obstacles that had made it difficult for the people to maintain their daily routine. Well, shortages in many essential items, including fuel and gas, has prevailed due to the chaotic political and economic situation. The general public were deprived of purchasing gas for several months, and they had to languish in long queues for several days to obtain fuel. However, the people are able to purchase gas, and long queues for fuel have been eliminated via the implementation of the QR methodology. Essential commodity items are being supplied to the markets as usual, and prices of many goods are coming down. With the normalization of the overall conditions, the historic Kandy Asala festival was able to be conducted in an extremely grand scale. More than 500,000 spectators were present at the Kandy Asala festival, which was the largest crowd recorded to have gathered to watch the annual Asala pageant. Due to numerous reasons, the Asala festival was conducted without the participation of people for nearly 3 years. School education, which has remained destabilized in the recent past, is also conducted as usual. With the situation in the country returning to normalcy, the government has taken measures to conduct schools in all 5 working days of the week. Well, Sri Lanka Tourism Development Authority says the arrival of more than 1 million tourists to the country is expected this year.
Director General of the authority, Mrs. Dhammika Vijayasinghe, says a revenue of $1.7 billion is anticipated through the visits of the foreign tourists. The month of August is considered as the second period of the tourism industry. Normally, more than 200,000 tourist arrivals are expected during the month. However, due to the existing developments in the country, this target would unable to be realized. Yet a somewhat increase in the number of visits by the tourists have been witnessed during this month in comparison to the figures of the corresponding period in the month of June this year. Currently, the daily tourist arrivals surpass 1,500. More than 479,250 tourists have visited Sri Lanka up to now since January of this year.
Newly appointed Australian High Commissioner and the Nepalese Ambassador to Sri Lanka have presented their credentials to President Ranil Wickremesinghe at the Presidential Secretariat. The new Australian High Commissioner in Sri Lanka is Paul Wesley Stevens.
The ambassador designate of Nepal will present
Basudeb Mishra
the
is the new ambassador
to His
of
Excellency
Nepal.
the President of the Democratic Socialist Republic of Sri Lanka.
First time.
That must be unprecedented.
Measures have been taken to open a special door for entry and exit at the airport for expatriate Sri Lanka foreign workers. Minister Manusha Nanayakara says it will be declared open on the 1st of next month. Minister Manusha Nanayakara said that the special door will be opened on the 1st of next month exclusively for the Sri Lankan foreign workers. This denotes special acknowledgement of the services of the overseas Sri Lankan nationals and also a special treatment for them. Minister Nanayakar also said that the airport, the Aviation Services Authority and the Control of the Immigration and Immigration have given their approval for the measure today.
Minister of Power and Energy Kanchana Vijayasekara says that temporary approval has been granted to the Adani Green Energy Company. That's for the implementation of 2 wind-powered electricity generation projects valued over $500 million. Decisions pertaining to the projects have been taken at the progress evaluation meeting on renewable sources of energy projects yesterday. The minister in a Twitter message says that accordingly, temporary permits have been provided for a 286 megawatt wind power project in Mannar and also for a 234 megawatt wind power project in Puneren. Many projects were not being able to be implemented due to non-amending of the Electricity Act for a long duration. However, with the revising of the Act, it has been able to implement 21 out of 46 stalled projects. As a result, Sri Lanka will be able to enter into agreements for purchasing of power in the coming week. The minister further says, according to the permits extended on behalf of further 26 renewable power projects, it is expected to fulfill facilities and transmission requirements at the CEV. The Police Special Task Force has arrested a suspect with a hidden consignment of 2,000 litres of diesel and 100 litres of petrol. Well, Ambassador of South Korea, Santosh Woojin Jeong, says the newly introduced relaxed visa regulations will help to attract more Korean visitors to Sri Lanka.
Ambassador Santosh Woojin Jeong called on Prime Minister Dinesh Gunawardena today. He met the Prime Minister to felicitate him on his appointment as the Premier. Pointing out that Korea was the topmost investor in Sri Lanka in the 1980s, the ambassador said his country desires to regain that position by increasing investments. The Prime Minister said Korea has the opportunities now to invest in new sectors such as production of agricultural machinery, medicine and medicinal equipment and renewable energy and fisheries sectors. He also pointed out the potential for exports to a huge Indian market utilizing the Indo-Sri Lanka Free Trade Agreement. Ambassador Santosh Woojin Jeong said several programs, including a Korean film festival, will be held later this year to mark the 45th anniversary of diplomatic relations between the two countries. Secretary to the Prime Minister Anuradha Dissanayake was also present during this meeting.
The Samagi Jana Balawege says that in order to resuscitate the economy, a massive program will have to be undertaken. Altering of the political system should be given priority in this connection. Opinions in this regard have been expressed at a media briefing at the leader of the opposition's office today. The Samagi Jana Balawege parliamentarian Dr. Harsha De Silva says that Sri Lanka has been experiencing excess expenditure over income for many years. The outcome has been the creation of 2 mountains. The biggest mountain is a massive local debt. The other mountain is a foreign debt, which is not lesser in extent than the other mountain. The parliamentarian added that these 2 mountains should be eliminated. The only way to do is to reduce external expenditure and at the same time to increase revenue. The MP has further pointed out that the exports must outweigh the imports.
Parliamentarian Patali Champika Ranavaka says that professionals should be enrolled into state institutions devoid of political intimidations. He made these remarks at a media briefing on the 43rd Brigade. Parliamentarian Patali Champika Ranavaka said that they are aware of the Sustainable Energy Authority has been threatened over provision of authority to a private company to generate electricity through wind power. Officials and politicians are behind this issue. The parliamentarian further said that the program should be handed over to a group of professionals. If the Ceylon Electricity Board and the Ceylon Petroleum Corporation brought to the professional level, such problems would not have arisen. Parliamentarian Ranavaka further said that they have a task force comprising of 1,000 professionals who hold important positions as engineers, specialist physicians and accountants. They are willing to rebuild institutions such as the Bank of Ceylon and the People's Bank on a voluntary basis.
The government reiterates that state funds are not being used for any expenditure of former President Gotabaya Rajapaksa in overseas. Minister of Mass Media Dr. Bandula Gunawardena says reports published by certain media in a manner to convince that the government finances are being used to meet the expenses incurred by the former president abroad will be investigated. Well, a media person has raised a query pertaining to overseas expenditure of former president at a media briefing at the auditorium of the Government Information Department yesterday. The meeting has been convened to inform decisions of the weekly meeting of the Cabinet of Ministers. Meanwhile, the Department of Government Information issuing a media release says that certain media had reported the statement made by Minister of Mass Media Dr. Bandula Gunawardena in response to a query that former and present presidents are entitled to certain privileges by law in a manner to give the impression that the foreign expenses of the former president were being met by the government. The minister says that the former president Gotabaya Rajapaksa has also informed that media reports on his overseas expenditure were false and that he is using his personal money for all his expenses.
Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna parliamentarian Anupa Paskal says that President Ranil Wickremesinghe has directed the economy of the country on the correct path. Addressing a media briefing in Colombo yesterday, parliamentarian Anupa Paskal said that the Aragalia is a created concept. Now everybody is aware that this was a group organized by several organizations in the diaspora. The problem has now been resolved and thankful to the president. He further said the former president Gotabaya Rajapaksa was an excellent leader who gave leadership to end the war. Therefore, he should be allowed to live in freedom. He added that the former president had not committed offences.
So this is all about converting knowledge into competency. The first batch of students who have followed a training course in photography and lighting have received their certificates at the national television premises today. The course has been organized by the Sri Lanka Rupavahini Corporation. Well, this 6-month training program was conducted in 2 batches. During weekends, theoretical as well as practical knowledge have been provided to the course participants. It was conducted through joint collaboration of the Educational Division of and the Training Research Unit of the Corporation. Former senior cameraman of SLRC Ranjan Gurusinghe functioned as the director of the training program. 35 students who have successfully completed their training course received certificates today. Senior officials, including the Director General of Sri Lanka Rupavahini Corporation, B. Vijayaratne, were present on this occasion. The Director General of the Sri Lanka Rupavahini Corporation, B. Vijayaratne, said that what he wanted to express is that knowledge is something which could be accumulated quickly. The knowledge lies somewhere. The Director General says that the problem encountered in every sector in the Sri Lankan state service is the problem of the on-the-job application of the knowledge. Sri Lanka does not have any problems relating to acquiring of knowledge. He further says that competency means utilization of the knowledge in the work sphere. The SLRC Director General added that the course has fulfilled the practical aspects of relating to the utilization of the knowledge.
Many artists, including musicians, took part in a ceremony to felicitate Sangeet Nipun Professor Sanath Nandasiri at the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation today. A portrait of the musician was unveiled in the main building of the SLBC by his wife and singer Malkanthi Nandasiri, Chairman of the SLBC Hudson Samarasinghe, Director General Nalin Nishanka, Chairman of the Development Authorities Board, Ajit Naragala, Professor Sunil Aryaratne and Visharada Nanda Malini have also attended the ceremony.
The staff of the Al-Safa Primary School in Nawalapitiya says that it is an appreciative measure to hand over a 2-acre land of the Department of Railways to set up a permanent building for the school. The land has been donated according to a proposal of parliamentarian Mahindananda Alutgamage. The storage adjoining the Nawalapitiya railway station has been allocated for the Al-Safa Primary School, which is functioning under extreme difficult conditions. The school started with 87 children in the year 2013. Presently, there are 373 students and a staff of 13 teachers. Well, the inoculation of the 4th dose of the anti-COVID vaccine is presently being conducted.
The health division say the new Omicron variety is spreading rapidly throughout the island. Provision of the 4th Pfizer vaccine to control the spread of the corona disease has taken place at the Vihara Mahadevi premises in Colombo. Today as well, the Army Hospital is coordinating the vaccination process. 4th booster dose of the corona vaccine could be received from medical offices of health divisions and government hospitals throughout the island.
The UK government has made priority and super priority visas available for students, and in a tweet, the British High Commission in Sri Lanka has the special announcement pertaining to student visas. Well, the tweet further indicated that a high demand can be expected over the next few weeks for visa and requested the students to apply for visa at their earliest. The British High Commission has further indicated that the process can be taking a little more time and to prepare the supporting documents as well.
The World University Service of Canada recommences the Volunteer Cooperation Program for 2020-2027. The Ministry of Finances has indicated that the organization is a Canadian non-profit organization that works to create opportunities for education, employment and empowerment for underprivileged youth and women worldwide. The Volunteer Cooperation Program 2020-2027 is implemented by the World University Service of Canada over a period of 7 years to improve the lives and means of subsistence of marginalized persons in developing countries. There is a general agreement on development cooperation between Canada and Sri Lanka dated to 1992. Accordingly, WUSC has been delivering services in Sri Lanka for almost 30 years in various fields, including skills development. During the last 2 years, volunteers were not dispatched from Canada due to the COVID-19 related travel restrictions. Currently, Canada is planning to resume volunteer services to Sri Lanka under the program. The purpose of the implementation of this program in Sri Lanka is to build the capacity of the partner organizations of the country. Well, that's it on local stories. We'll be back with news overseas.
hot and spicy, cheering got baby, match Devi, Mom, hit the talent at the vena, fun in my vinuna, Saradavi at the night, go to me, from the mouth, fun papa play vena, set take a canecuna, Saradavi at the night, go to me, from the mouth. Prima, cut to me, fun tamai.
Welcome back, and topping the international stories, and well, the first one is shockwaves from Bollywood. Actress Jacqueline Fernandez has been named and accused in the money laundering case against the conman Sukesh Chandrasekhar, who faces charges of extortion amounting to a massive 2,000 million Indian rupees. That's 2 billion Indian rupees. Well, the actress has been named as an accused in the supplementary charge sheet filed in the Delhi court by the Enforcement Directorate, which is probing the money trail in an extortion case. Earlier, Delhi police had arrested Chandrasekhar for allegedly extorting around 2,150 million Indian rupees. The authorities have claimed that Suresh Chandrasekhar had been giving various gifts worth 57.1 million Indian rupees to Jacqueline Fernandez from the proceeds generated by criminal activities including extortion. Among these gifts is a horse worth 5.2 million Indian rupees and a Persian cat worth 900,000 Indian rupees, authorities have said. The sources also allege that Chandrasekhar have given huge sums of money to the family members of Fernandez.
Explosions and fires ripped through at least 17 locations in southern Thailand today, and 7 people have been injured from multiple coordinated attacks, Thai authorities have said. The bombings and arson attacks occurred after midnight yesterday and targeted convenience stores and a gas station across 3 provinces. No one has claimed responsibility for the attack so far. Provinces in southern Thailand along the border with Malaysia have seen a decades-long low-level insurgency in which the Thai government has battled shadowy groups seeking independence for the predominantly Muslim provinces of Pattani, Yala, Narathiwat and parts of Songkhla. More than 7,300 people have been killed in the conflict since 2004, according to the Deep South Watch Group, which monitors the violence.
Prima Kotami Pantan.
Welcome back and moving on to the sports news. And today, if you're going past the Coles cricket grounds, you would have seen some action, and that is practice action. And Sri Lanka Legends cricket team practicing, and that's for the T20 Legends League cricket tournament. So we have more on that.
In the first tournament of the Legends T20 cricket tournament, the Sri Lankan Legends team were the runners-up. The team was beaten by India in the finals by 14 runs. TM Dilshan, who gave leadership to the Sri Lankan team in the first tournament, is also the captain of the team in the forthcoming tournament as well. The Sri Lankan team is comprised of veteran players of the caliber of Sanath Jayasuriya, Chaminda Vas, Upul Tharanga, Davika Prasad, Isuru Dana. The tournament will get underway in India on the 17th of next month. The day prior to the commencement of the tournament, there will be an exhibition match between the Indian Legends team and the World Legends team. And the World Legends team will also be comprised of Master Blaster Sanath Jayasuriya and legendary spinner Muthaiya Muralidharan.
Prima Kotami Pantan.
Well, we're going to end the news with that story, which will definitely bring a lot of excitement to the local cricket fans and as well as the global cricket fans as well. Time to end the news. Do enjoy the rest of the programs. Take care. And together with Sharifa, this is Clifford wishing you a good night.